Technology has been with us for a very long time, helping us in the simplest of tasks, shaping how we live our lives, how it is we go about our lives, and the order that we do our tasks. Technology has helped us advance in numerous ways, socioeconomic, physically, and sometimes even emotionally. However, most of the time we seem to ignore the fact that something so simple can be so much more complex. I'd go as far as to say that it mimics our very own brain. But we must not forget that this machine was created, and all things created have an inspiration. The inspiration for this machine, our very own brain. Much like it is complex. It can create things out of seemingly nothing, and it can simulate things which wouldn't be possible otherwise. For there is something to seeing within the ones and zeros. It wasn't a coincidence that all of this technology can do all these things. This creation has a purpose, a beauty to it. My job is to discover said beauty and clarify one of the greatest misunderstandings of this piece of technology. This is the beauty, the worlds, the art, the memories, the fascination, the immersion. What is trapped in this machine?
Hello, and welcome to my humble. The question of computers and their fascination and connection to the human brain is a question that was brought upon to me a couple of weeks ago. And up till that point, I hadn't really thought about the effects that people have on us as a society. Clearly, they have changed us and have helped us along our existences. But there's one key thing that we've been missing, and allow me to explain it to you. So in thinking about computers, it got my head spinning. What is it about them that makes them so fascinating? But before I can begin to explain to you what it is exactly that makes them so fascinating, we first need to explain what exactly a computer is.
Computers are pretty simple. They're an electronic device for storing and processing data, typically in binary form, according to instructions given to it in a variable program. Many computers have different parts in them, and each do different things. Now, we all know that there are two different forms, the normal desktop tower PC and the portable laptop. But the parts that are within each of these machines are basically the same. First, you need a way to keep all your parts in place. That is what a motherboard is for. It's kind of like the glue that holds everything together. Next, we have the Central Processing Unit, or CPU. It's often called the brain of a computer. It's directly plugged into the connection of a motherboard and communicates with all the components and parts in a computer. This is where we get into the use of heat sinks, which are directly connected to the CPU, which transfers heat away from the CPU. The random access memory, known as RAM, stores data regarding frequently accessed programs and processes. The reason why it is called random access memory is because they will be terminated or deleted once your computer turns off. Anything that you want to keep for later is kept in your storage, which is your hard disk drive, HDD. Now, these days, as technology has advanced and as a matter of convenience, we now have SSD cards, which are overall more convenient at the cost of being more expensive. Now, of course, the motherboard contains other sections where you can apply video graphics cards as well as different other attachments in order to better suit your use of a computer. As such, there are external ports on the computer which connect directly into your motherboard by simply plugging them in. Now, of course, like most computers, I'd imagine, they run on a sort of power source. So, of course, computers are going to need a power supply. All of these parts work again to create all of your realities come to life. Now, as we can see, there are clear similarities between a computer and the human body. The most important part of this connection is, of course, the CPU and the brain. Both connect and both receive and send messages to everything else, basically the one in control. As we know, the brain is capable of complex problem solving. However, like us humans here on Earth, we are only here for a set limit of time. The computer was then created to have our brain with us at maximum potential whenever we want to use it. This allows us to solve complex problems, store said solutions to problems, and transfer them in however many ways we want. Not only is the computer a mimic of the brain, but it is also capable of doing such things that the brain could never do. But many of us these days don't have a desktop computer. Our exposure to computers is done through a different device, like a phone. A phone is a very interesting mobile device. It is way more compact than a laptop, and in some cases is capable of doing way more than a normal computer can. This ultra compact device is ultra portable and is almost like the ultra or final evolution of a laptop, being able to be carried in almost anything from a pocket to a purse to a book bag. The utilities on said phone are also very expansive. You're able to tell time, look at the date, being able to tell your precise location. It can give you directions to go to different locations. It is capable of a vast majority of things. And again, similar to the connection from brain to computer, it is also access to multiple social media apps and applications. These applications allow us to connect in real time with our most loved people and friends. Perhaps that is why we are so connected to our phones, because they are a computer that are essentially allowing us to communicate with the people that we love and care right when we want to. This whole social media craze isn't just a thing of industry. These are companies that know what we want in terms of wanting to connect with people. And so they've created applications that make that possible in the highest of qualities. Like I stated previously, many of us are exposed to computers through said phones, and many of us have social media. That is why we are so connected to them, because without the phone, we no longer have said connections and are limited to specifically face-to-face contact. Yet again, we have proof that the computer here is acting in ways that the brain could not. Therefore, there is a created hold or grasp to the computer, a sort of necessity to have it.
But apart from phones, most people are exposed to a computer in a different media. This is most particularly the one that I use more often, and that is your typical gaming console.
A gaming console, like the Xbox, a PlayStation, or a Nintendo Switch, is a device that is essentially used to render realistic graphics in real time. As such, you can consider gaming consoles to be budget gaming PCs, as they are way more compound from not only normal computers, but also previous consoles in the past, but have higher RAM and capable of 4K UHD graphics, as well as having SSDs in order to render such worlds so quickly. It uses a system of teraflops, which can render very, very high graphics with very high frame rates as well. This creates the illusion of being in a different world. Teraflops are a unit of computing speed equal to 1 million floating point operations per second. This, of course, is very necessary for gaming consoles, as they need to render ultra high settings. This whole system revolves around the use of all of these teraflops at a very high rate, meaning that compared to normal PCs and phones, the CPU is going to be needing a lot of heat sinks in order to keep the console up and running at maximum capacity. The end result? Countless worlds and realities that one can explore at the push of a button. Yet again, another connection can be made. Similar to gaming PCs, these can create worlds and realities only possible to our simple human imaginations. And with said video games, we can be indulged in those experiences and live them as if they were real. We can imagine all we want. We can think, dream, but video games are the way into said realities. And these devices allow us to experience them as if we really were there. But part of living is also controlling. That is what a controller is for. To fully experience all of these realities, we can step into them, enter them, with the controller. Now, with more enhanced features, wireless capabilities through Bluetooth, and increased ranges, a controller gives us direct feedback into our worlds using vibrations. Whether it's flashy combos, cinematic moments, or kill streaks, one can experience all of these things within one machine. The connections between a video gaming console and the brain are quite simple. We are transported into realities that we ourselves cannot experience.
Thank you for joining me on this journey. Hopefully now you can see why I think that this machine is so complex and beautiful. However, that is not the end of your journey with us.
Throughout this video, I've been describing the many uses of computers and how they aid us in our lives. However, we must realize that the computer is, above anything else, an aid and nothing more. There is a fear among many people that eventually computers will replace us and will become too reliant upon them. But we must not forget that the computer is simply here to help us. We still must be willing to put in the work through our brains. We must acknowledge the fact that our brain is still very capable of complex problem solving. This ensures that we remain the same and can prosper knowing that the computer has helped us transfer information throughout generations. But one of the things that makes the brain so powerful are nerves, of course. Join us in part 2 as my colleague and good friend Ian Larson describes the underratedness of nerves and why the educational system is not focusing enough on such important parts of the body. See you guys next time when we finally discover and we continue the journey of the art